Good morning, Unity. How are we doing? Oh, let's try that again. I do this with my students. They're not alert with me sometimes. Good morning, Unity. How are we doing? There we go. I knew you were out there. All right, great. Well, you're going to join with me and the band up here. We've got Dave on drums and John on bass and myself, Brent, on keys. Just a couple things before we get started. Tomorrow night, our choir members, we're going to meet a half hour earlier at 5 o'clock. And just to kind of give you, I don't know, a little something extra to maybe look forward to this week. John, I'm putting you on the spot. John Moody and myself are involved with an ensemble here in Kalamazoo called Blendings Vocal Ensemble. And we're going to have a big concert on Wednesday of this week, the 24th, at the Civic Auditorium. So it's really big stuff, and we're really looking forward to it. It's a great group of people who just love to sing. And yeah, I think you would have a blast. We're doing music from how many decades? Probably 7 or 8 decades, right? I think starts with some jazz tunes from the 20s all the way up to 70s and 80s, and it's some really good stuff. So check that out, okay? If you want more information, come find me. But other than that, let's get singing. You ready? Cool. We're gonna start with Spirit-Led, Spirit-Fed. Why don't we stand as we sing? Spirit-led, spirit-fed, everywhere and always. I'm spirit-led, I'm spirit-led, spirit-fed, everywhere and always. I'm spirit-led, flowing like a river of peace. I am nature's wonderful child. Love cannot be added to me. I am spirit-led, spirit-fed, everywhere and always. I'm spirit-led, I'm spirit-led, spirit-fed, everywhere and always. I'm spirit-led. There's magic in every day, like a beautiful song. As I'm choosing my way, there's a voice inside to guide me along. I am spirit-led, spirit-fed, everywhere and always. I am spirit-led, I'm spirit-led, spirit-fed, everywhere and always. I am spirit-led, everywhere and always. I am spirit-led. I'm in the right place at the right time. I'm just where I'm supposed to be. I'm in the right place at the right time. I'm just where I'm supposed to be. I'm in the right place at the right time. I'm just where I'm supposed to be. I'm in the right place at the right time. I'm just where I'm supposed to be. Oh, my soul is welcome here. Oh, my soul is welcome here. I am getting the message loud and clear. My soul is welcome here. I'm in the right place at the right time. I'm just where I'm supposed to be. I'm in the right place at the right time. I'm just where I'm supposed to be. Oh, my soul is welcome here. Oh, my soul is welcome here. I am getting the message loud and clear. My soul is welcome here. Oh, my soul is welcome here. Oh, my soul is welcome here. I am getting the message loud and clear. My soul is welcome here. I am getting the message loud and clear. My soul is welcome here.
Good morning. I am Beth Odekirk, your platform person for today. Give a special round of applause for whoever's in the back of the room there that was singing out today. I love that extra. The vocals in the back and support, that was fantastic. Thank you to all those helping today to make this service a wonderful experience. Our hospitality team, ushers, script, bookstore, streaming, sound, PowerPoint, our youth leaders, and of course, our wonderful music team. Thank you so much. What a way to start the day. Your soul is welcome here. We are in the right place at the right time. If this is your first time joining us, thank you for being here today. We would love to have you fill out an information card that you will find in the pew pocket, and after service, return it to an usher as you leave. They have a special gift for you. Announcements today. First of all, the Unity and Community team is meeting right after service upstairs, close to 11 o'clock as we can make it. All are welcome. We have lots of fun things in the works to plan together. Next week, Reverend Judy will be back talking about the last full measure. And starting in June, we will be offering new members classes starting on June 1st. I found those to be very, very helpful in my knowledge of Unity principles and my connection to our church. So consider taking those new membership classes. See the flyer out on the counter and sign up for that. June 4th's talk is The Longest Day, followed by our second Sunday spiritual cafe on June 11th. Raise your hand if you came to the first spiritual cafe. Thumbs up on the cool format for it. Yeah, that was great. Please come if you didn't experience that. We had a wonderful time exchanging ideas and getting to know one another. In between those, on June 7th, we will have a screening of the movie 13th, which talks about the use of institutional racism in the United States. And while the 13th Amendment freed slaves, systems were put in place to keep black and brown people oppressed. Please sign up to reserve your seat at Unity's Theater. And if you haven't seen that movie, it is very eye-opening. And on the 18th, Donna Odom will be our guest speaker talking about the spirit of Juneteenth. And then in July, she will be leading a workshop for personal and community transformation. A lot happening. Stay connected with our e-zine. Did I go too fast for you, JP? Are we good? You're awesome. My support tech over there. Today, we have with us a familiar face, Bob Weir. Bob is a speaker, an author, a local activist, and longtime Unity member who calls Kalamazoo his home and whose lifelong travels have informed his diverse ideas. He will be talking on Conversations Through the Veil. Okay, let's all join in together on our mission statement. As an all-inclusive community, we awaken to spirit, grow into our soul, and build a better world. In our vision statement together, we celebrate a world of ever-awakening consciousness, abundance, peace, and love for all. Our core values: love, authenticity, stewardship, oneness, and playfulness. And our land and labor acknowledgement. Our spiritual community pays reverence and respect to all Black, Indigenous, and people of color whose lands and labor were forcibly taken. We pledge to actively dismantle racism, discrimination, and oppression in any form. Okay, and now it's time to warm up our hands, and if we have any little ones or not, we're going to bless them and send them on their way to their programming. Together, as you go your way, know that you are loved, special, and important to us.
thoughts are prayers, and we are always praying. Our thoughts are prayers. Be careful what you're saying. Seek a higher consciousness, a state of peacefulness, and know that God is always there. And every thought becomes our prayer. Our thoughts are prayers, and we are always praying. Our thoughts are prayers. Take charge of what you're saying. Seek a higher consciousness, a state of peacefulness, and know that God is always there. And every thought becomes our prayer. Our thoughts are prayers, and we are always praying. Our thoughts are prayers, and be careful what you're saying. Seek a higher consciousness, a state of tenderness, and know that God is always there. And every thought becomes our prayer.
And now we begin our time of reflection with today's daily word. Today's daily word is protection. As I practice the presence of God, I feel secure. There is only one power and one presence in the universe and in my life: God, omnipotence, omniscience, and omnipresence is not only all around me, God is within me. As I take this truth into my heart, I feel calm and secure. The circumstances of the world have no lasting power over me. God is greater and more enduring than anything I may be called to face. I have within me the power to feel God's protecting presence at any time. As I pray, I affirm the strength and power of God are mine to call upon. I can use these divine powers to move beyond that which may scare or intimidate me. In renewed faith and deep security, I move bravely forward. The one who is in you is greater than the one who is in the world. 1 John 4:4. And now, as we settle in to this space for some time in reflection, I'd like to center our thoughts on the idea of self-love. Let's take a few moments to pause and settle into this space. Once you're settled, close your eyes or soften your gaze and tune into your breath. Notice your breath without trying to change it. Continue to take deep, full breaths. As you breathe, become aware of the state of your body and your connection to the divine. Let go of tension and doubt. Breathe, Spirit. Feel love filling your heart space. Now rest in that knowing for a bit. This is the place where I experience love for myself and others. Let your breath be smooth and effortless. With each exhale, release any negative thoughts that may be lingering in your mind. As you breathe in, think, I am worthy. And as you exhale, I am enough. I am worthy. I am enough. We draw in self-love and release what is no longer serving us. Through self-love, we are whole, fully connected with our divine nature. Let that expand. We thank you, God, for this time to remember. As we gently return our presence to the sanctuary, we open our eyes in gratitude and say, Amen.
Well, you mostly know me. And this is my friend Robin Knott. And the second song that we're going to sing a little later is something I've wanted to sing most of my life. But I needed backup. And Robin is kind enough to come and perform that role. But we needed a second song. And so Robin chose this one.
It's a pleasure to be here. Good morning. And this beautiful flowers here, couldn't have a better visual for this song. It's by Casey Chambers. It's called This Flower. Oh, this flower
is my soul.
It's not half
For what I owe, should give you every rose that ever grew.
Take this one for a start. You can keep it in your heart. I got everything I need
because of you.
If my life is long enough to wrap up everything I love, I'd do just that and give it all to you. It's impossible to pay all the things you gave away. This flower that I give will have to do. Oh, this flower is my soul. It's not half of what I owe. Should give you every rose that ever grew. But take this one for a start. You can keep it in your heart. I got everything I need because of you. All them flowers growing wild for 10,000 lonely miles, not near enough to give you what I should. Guess I'll owe you for a while, maybe longer than my time. I'd give you the whole world if I could. Oh, this flower is my soul. It's not half of what I owe. Should give you every rose that ever grew. But take this one for a start. You can keep it in your heart. I got everything I need because of you. I got everything I need because of you.
Thank you, Robin. Thank you, Joe and Beth and everybody. Thank you very much for being here. And Karen for helping to arrange this, and Reverend Judy for giving me the opportunity to stand before you today. Before I actually begin my presentation, I want to introduce you to something, or extend an invitation. And that is something that's coming up on June the 6th in Mount Pleasant, Michigan. A little history here, and this relates to what we're trying to do with the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion team. It relates to our land and labor statement that we've experienced already this morning. But in the United States, in 37 states from 1819 to 1969, there were institutions called federal Indian boarding schools. And these were presented to the indigenous people as an opportunity for their children to gain an education. But the hidden agenda was that the schools were intended to strip the indigenous culture from those children. You may have seen some movies about this. But there were 5 of these schools in Michigan. One was in Mount Pleasant. And every June 6th, the Saginaw Chippewa tribe in Mount Pleasant area hold a celebration to honor the closing of that school on June 6th, way back in the 1960s. And this is a celebration called the Honoring, Healing, and Remembering. It's a solemn ceremony. The public is invited. It's an all-day event, but you don't have to come for the entire time. It starts with a sunrise service in a cemetery where some of the Indian children were buried. And there's a grand opening ceremony at 10 o'clock, a parade in, so to speak, and then it goes until as late as 5:30 in the afternoon. I'm going to be there for a couple of reasons. I'm curious. I want to know more. I'm going to be writing about it for Encore magazine, and also Reverend Judy and Karen have arranged for me to speak about this on the 5th Sunday in July. So you're invited to go. If you can't go, you're still going to hear about it a little bit later. And there's some more information, reminders if you need them, in a table that's up by in the Holy Grounds Cafe. There are some flyers here that Tracy has printed out. So come up and take a photograph of one, or take one of these with you. And I hope that maybe you might choose to come and be there on June the 6th. Okay, moving into my presentation then. I love the synchronicity that I feel whenever I get the opportunity to speak here. It was back a few months ago I spoke, and I felt like my presentation was the third in a series. Karen Colson had spoke about something 2 Sundays before, then Reverend Judy on the Sunday before, and I felt as though mine just fit into like a trilogy of presentations there. And I feel the same thing here. 2 Sundays ago, when Reverend Judy was introducing the concept of the Second Sunday Spiritual Cafe, she put up a PowerPoint slide that said something like, at some point, everyone has questions about how we got here, what we are here for, and how we should live, and what happens when we die. These are big questions, and what I just read to you is a quote from Reverend Judy's slide. Last week, up at the Spiritual Cafe, we had this little handout, and one of the statements there just really jumped out at me. It says, sometimes the how cannot be proved by what we know. What has happened in your life that seems to defy explanation? What has happened in your life that seems to defy explanation? Well, for me, it was my mom's death at an early age. She was 50 and I was 18. And for much of my adult life, I began to wonder why. Why did she die so young? Why do I feel abandoned because of it? So I began to explore a little bit and turned to the unity principles. And if you think about it, the unity principles can be boiled down to 5 words. God, there is a God. Goodness, there's goodness in life. And thoughts, prayer, and action. And if we follow thoughts, prayer, and action, we lead to the truth that we want to experience. So, as an adult, I began to wonder, what is this about my mom's passing? And I decided to search for a medium. And I guess I want to say something here too as a preface. It's very possible that what I'm about to say to you today, you might not believe. And that's okay. Because I believe that if we all believe the same thing, life might seem very simple, but I also think it would be boring. It would be boring. Because it is through our relationships and our challenges that we grow. And so it's very possible that what I say to you, you might not believe, or you might be skeptical about. I know that I've talked about this with some relatives and some friends who, let's say, are more conservative in nature, and they don't believe me. And as I experienced my experience with the medium, I also had some skepticism. So that's okay. That's the thought. I mean, if we're skeptical, we're thinking, and that's good. That's good. So the message I want to share today really, well, it's about reincarnation, about soul growth, about karma, forgiveness, and eternal love. And if there's a lesson that I would like you to take with you today, it relates to this question that came up in the Spiritual Cafe. Sometimes the how cannot be proved by what we know. Or, as I would like to say, what we see, hear, and believe is probably only part of the story. There might be an unseen part that relates to our karmic energy from some previous life. So, accepting that fact, accepting that possibility or even that probability can bring us to peace, peace through understanding, forgiveness, and this greater awareness of the eternal love that I believe does exist in the universe, that eternal love that is part of our divine connection with God, or the great I am, the goodness that we know exists in the world. So here are the players in this situation. There's my mom, my dad, my former spouse, all of whom are deceased, as well as a grandmother and a grandfather that goes back a little bit further. I apologize for my cough. I'm getting over what could have been or was a whole lot worse about 2 weeks ago. So, as I mentioned before, my mom passed at a very early age, and she was 50 and I was 18. But gosh, when she was alive, she taught determination to me. I was a freshman in high school. For age 14, she was 46 when doctors said, you have abdominal cancer and you are going to die in 2 years. And my mom says, no, I'm going to be at my son's high school graduation. She lived 4 years. She was at my graduation. She died 3 months later when my second week in college. There's proof, in my opinion, of the ability for the mind and determination to override whatever might be happening within the physical matter that we call our body. I appreciate the message of determination that she taught to me. So, but I really was wondering, what happened in my teenage years? Because I don't remember a lot about her illness. And I mean, did I block it out? Did I just don't remember? What happened there? So I contacted a medium, a lady by the name of Elizabeth Victoria Brown, and that was the action part. I've been thinking, I've been praying, but I took the action to choose this medium, Elizabeth Victoria Brown. And I met her through a couple of circumstances, talked with her several times, finally said, she's the one I want to try to have this interaction with my mom's deceased spirit with. So I called her up one day, and I said, Elizabeth, I'd like to book an appointment, and I would like to have a session to interact with my mom. And Elizabeth said, stop, don't say anything more. I don't want to hear anything. I don't want to hear any names. What I want you to do is we will set a time and a date. You send out an invitation to your mom and anybody else who you would like to be in that session, and we'll see who shows up. So that's what I did. So I met with Elizabeth, and she said, after stating a prayer to get us going, she immediately said, I'm feeling the presence of a Margaret. Do you know a Margaret? And I said, well, my mom was born and named Marguerite. People called her Marge and Margaret. So that's probably the spirit of my mother who's interacting with us now, Elizabeth. Then she said, I'm feeling a very strong energy for somebody whose name is M, or begins with M, or begins with the sound of M. Is there such a person in your life? And I said, well, my mother's mother was named Emma. And she said, okay, Emma is here. Your maternal grandmother is here. Then she said, Fred is here. Very strong male energy. She said, Fred is the same generation as Emma, but they're not related and they're not married. Does that make any sense to you? And I said, Fred is my father's father, my paternal grandfather. And she said, okay, that energy is here. And of course, I didn't tell any of this to Elizabeth beforehand. I suppose if you want to be skeptical, she might have looked it up on genealogy websites, but I don't think she would. I mean, why? And plus, there were some other relatives who came along who were more distant, and that would be harder to find. So anyway, Elizabeth said, your dad's energy is here, but she says sometimes spirits will not present themselves with a name, but they'll present themselves with a symbol. And what I'm seeing for your dad's energy is a pile of tires, like a stack of 4 tires, but these are not car tires. Does this make any sense to you? And I said, well, Fred founded the farm implement business of Fred Weir and Son. My dad operated that business after Grandpa died, and I was raised in that business. And among the things that we sold were tractor tires and car tires. And she said, that's the symbol that I'm seeing. Then a couple of other relatives came along. Aunt Lizzie said, my name is Lizzie, and I came in with the Tin Lizzie. She provided some comic relief for our sessions. And then there was Uncle Bob, who was the mystery man. He showed up in every one of the sessions. I expected to have one session with Elizabeth. I had 7. But Uncle Bob was there for every one of those sessions, and he was very adamant that there's something wrong in the family that I have to figure out and fix. But he would not be clear about what that was. And so he was the mystery man. So, anyway, as I went into these sessions with the intention of trying to find out more about me. And quite honestly, folks, if what I learned was only about me and my message, my story, I wouldn't be standing here in front of you telling this. But there were universal messages that came out. And I realized that within like 30 or 40 minutes of the first session, that there's more to this story than just what happened to me and my mom. And I said to the spirit of my mother that I think there's more that I should be telling other people, maybe even writing about it. And she said, we expect you to. We expect you to. And here's the universal lesson that came through the spirits and through Elizabeth. That is, we are all connected. Even after the body dies, the soul is there. And as we grow on earth, the souls we are connected to also grow. And as they grow, we also grow. It's a back and forth exchange. And I learned that, as I said earlier, it's the conflict in our relationships that really helps us to grow in our incarnated form. But there's also, the souls do grow when they are in spirit form, pure spirit form. You call it the time between lives, if that's what you want, we might call it. So, but they don't grow as fast. So here's something that I learned, and it's another universal message. I had thought from my religious upbringing that when we die, we go to heaven, we see St. Peter, the pearly gates, and all of that. And my mom's spirit says, oh yes, and she was a devout Catholic. She said, oh yeah, when I died, I came up here and I expected to see a sign that said heaven or hell. You know, you go one place or the other. But she says it's not that way at all. And also, the souls don't immediately have access to the universal knowledge upon leaving a body. We're aware of the connection that we have with the divine, but there's also this growth that does occur in that time between lives. It's a slower growth. It's a time of reflection. You know, it's sort of like if we have an event, an outing, a team party or something like that, and afterwards we process what we experienced so that we can understand what we experienced, what we went through at the time. Well, that's what souls do after they've experienced the lifetime of incarnation. That they go to this eternal place and they process, well, what did I experience? How did I interact with my son? How did I interact with my husband, with the people I was close to? And this is where souls will evaluate, what do I need to accomplish the next time I incarnate? And do I want to go as part of a soul group and experience things together? And what I learned also is, in regard to my case, and it's probably true with all of you too, is that we do incarnate in soul groups. I learned that my mom's spirit and my spirit have been together in several lifetimes. We have been lovers, we've been male compatriots together, we've been married, we've been part of the same family. There was one magnificent life my mother's spirit said, where she was named Mariam and I was named Valerian. And she said, that's why when you were born, I wanted to call you Valerian Jude. So my name could have been Valerian Jude if my mother had had her way, but my dad prevailed, and so I am Robert Martin. but the benefit that I got from this, and this is something that's a universal message too, is that I went into these sessions looking upon my mom in a hierarchical point of view. She was the mother, I was the son. She gave birth to me, I had to obey her growing up and things like that. But knowing that we have shared several lives together changes all of that. It deletes the hierarchy. It means now that we are like soulmates. We are equal in the universal way of looking at things. And that's just a very freeing feeling to realize that we are equals like that. So why did she die young? Well, this deals with a soul group contract that pertains to my mother's spirit, my dad's spirit, and my spirit. And that is that back about 300 or 400 years ago, the person who was my mother in this life was my wife. And the person who was my dad in this life was our son. And we had a soul contract that my dad and I apparently needed to, or my son and, yeah, okay, my father, my son, the same person. We had to work out some karma. So my mother's agreement was that she would come into that life, marry me, give birth to our son, and when he was 8, 10, 12 years of age, she would die, and she would leave, and leaving him and me to work out our karma. But we didn't do it. So the three of us had another soul contract in this life. She came in, married the man who was my dad, agreed to die at my age 18, and leaving my dad and myself to work things out. And closely after her passing, we did not. We simply did not. But my dad and I were together for the last 5 years of his life. I went back to take care of him, and we talked about things that we had never talked about before. And in the second session with Elizabeth, which featured my dad, she says, you've worked things out. You came back. You showed love to him that you did not show to him when he was your son, those 300 or 400 years ago in a previous lifetime. So that was answered from me. Why did she die young? It's because she had agreed to. It was part of the soul contract. You can believe this or not, but it works for me. And maybe it works for you also. So in regard to Marty, the woman who I was married to, there's an interesting soul contract there also, in that Marty is my second wife. She is deceased. We married in 1998, at a time when I was moving from Kalamazoo to take care of my aging dad. And he and I were together for the last 5 years of his life, and Marty and I were married during most of that 5 years. The three of us lived together, and it was a challenging time. I mean, even spouses who have been together for 20 or 30 years, who, when they have to take care of an aging parent, it's very challenging. Well, we were newlyweds, and quite honestly, I didn't have the energy to be a totally adequately loving newlywed husband and a caregiving son. It was very challenging. Marty and I were friends afterward. We did divorce. She lived for another 10 years after my dad died. We became friends more than we came to some understanding about each other. And then she died suddenly at age 63. And 3 months after she passed, I had my third session with Elizabeth, and Marty was the focus there. She was the strong energy that came through. And my dad's energy was prevalent there too. And we learned this, that back around 1600, the three of us had been together before. And In that time, we were all monks in a monastery. My dad was the abbot. He was the father in charge of making sure everything went well. I was his chief administrator. Marty was a monk who just simply wanted to be there and pray and do good work. And that pretty much defines the roles that we had in this lifetime. I needed to take care of my dad because he was aging. He couldn't take care of himself. And I was his chief administrator. Marty was there. In what she and I in this lifetime, again, if we looked at it from just this lifetime, we would say we made a mistake, that we should not have gotten married. And we had that conversation. And then we should not have gotten divorced. We had that conversation several times. But if you look at it beyond just this lifetime, you see that it was part of our agreement that we needed to come together and work some things out from that previous lifetime. So if you've got challenges with people in this lifetime, you might ask, what do you need to work out? What's not seen in this lifetime? So if you want to talk with me more about this, I'd be glad to. I've got a table upstairs. I brought some books. I wrote about Dad and taking care of him in his life, and Conversations Through the Veil. And they're good books, they're good messages, and I hope that maybe you might want to take one home with you. In closing, these messages, these truths, if you will. Again, we're talking about karma, forgiveness, eternal love, the growth that comes whether we are incarnated or not, our soul's growth. And the souls grow whether we are incarnated or not incarnated, whether we're in just pure spirit or in a physical body. And in regard to Uncle Bob, another lesson is that spirit sometimes brings things to us, but doesn't give us all of the answers. It gives us clues that we need to figure out. 1 month after my 7th session with Elizabeth, when Uncle Bob was extremely strong, there's something wrong in the family. You have to figure it out. Well, I visited Uncle Bob's son. He'd be my cousin. And I hadn't seen him in 20 years since my dad's passing. And 15 minutes after in our conversation, he says, I've got a story to tell you. And that story solved the mystery of what Uncle Bob was trying to tell me. It's in the book. I hope you'll come up and talk with me about it. So, thank you very much. And whether you believe or not, I hope you enjoyed what I happened to say today.
Good morning. I'm Marcia Bergstaller, a member of your board, and if you would, and thank you, Bob, for your message today. Really gave me some food for thought for the week, for sure. If you would please join me in the board affirmation. My eyes can see the beautiful potential within and around me. For those of you at home and here in the sanctuary, and I hope you joined in that as well, will the ushers come forward and we'll say our offering blessing. Divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive.
Now you can put the other one up. There we go. So in the 70s, the band put out an album called Stage Fright. And I'm sure all of you have sung along in the shower and in the car and whatever song. So this has been one for me. And there was like this sad tragedy kind of drama feel to it. And the band is a 5-piece band. They used to back up Bob Dylan. And we are not a five-piece band. We are Robin and me. So it's going to be a slightly different version, but the message is still the same. As it says, a cautionary tale about wanting something that is not yours to have. So, hope you like it.
Whoops. Sorry, folks. Fussy instruments.
Daniel and the sacred harp dancing through the clover. Daniel, Daniel, would you mind if I look it over? I heard of this famous harp years ago, back in my hometown. I sure never thought old Daniel'd be the one to come and bring it around. So tell me, Daniel, how this harp came into your possession. Are you one of the chosen few who will march in the procession? And Daniel said, this sacred harp was handed down from father on to son. And me not being related, I would never be the one. So I saved up all of my silver and I took it to a man who said he could deliver the harp straight into my hands. 3 years I waited patiently till he returned with the harp from the Sea of Galilee. He said, there is one more thing I must ask, but not of personal greed. I wouldn't listen, I just grabbed the harp and said, take what you will need. Now Daniel seemed quite satisfied, and the harp, it began to glow. But the price that Daniel had really paid, he did not even know. Back to my brother, I took my troubled mind. I said, dear brother, I'm in a bind. My brother would not hear my tale. He said, oh, Daniel's gonna land in jail. To my father I did run. I said, dear father, what have I done? My father said, son, you're giving in. You know, you won your harp, but you lost in the end. Daniel took the harp and went high on a hill, blew across the meadow like a whippoorwill, laid out his heart just the time to pass. But as he looked to the ground, he noticed shadow did he cast. Daniel, Daniel and the sacred harp dancing through the clover. Daniel, Daniel, would you mind if I look it over?
Nice job.
Awesome job, Joe and Robin. Appreciate that very much. As the ushers have come forward, let us pray. Loving Spirit, we are so blessed in so many ways. Thank you for all the gifts received today and throughout the week. We thank those of you watching and giving from home as well. It is with these weekly tithes and love offerings that we are able to take care of our spiritual home and continue to be a positive path for spiritual living right here in Kalamazoo. And we ask for special prayers for our friends at the Unitarian Universalist Church that were met with protests over expressing their beliefs. Now, as we bring our service to a close, I invite you to please stand and join me in our prayer for protection. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us as the presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. Amen. And now, as we bring our service to a close with the peace song, if you are comfortable, you may hold hands with your neighbor or just place your hand on your heart and connect within.
With my family in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my joyous vow. To take each moment and live each moment in peace.